Good morning, good morning. How is everyone this morning? Beautiful. So for those of you who are here at the 9 o'clock, it's a very different experience at the 10:30. At the 9 o'clock, we start with lovely piano music. We're going to be very centered and very meditative. And then I get into 10:30, I'm like, hello! So good morning, welcome to Tucson New Thought, our beautiful spiritual community. Let's start off today with what we know. I know the truth about you. If you'd like to stand and dance and move your body, I love that.
Are we going to say, oh
Yeah. Here we go. I know the truth about you. I feel the power within you. I know that love surrounds you. Everything is all right. I know the truth about you. I see the light within you. Just let it shine on brightly. Everything is all right. I see you dripping with abundance and ease. I see you enjoying the life you please. Playful at work and creative at play. I see you in gratitude for every day. And I say, I know the truth about you. I feel the power within you. I know that love surrounds you. Everything is all right. I know the truth about you. I see the light within you. Just let it shine on brightly. Everything is all right. I know the dreams of your heart want to fly. It's time to spread your wings and give it a try. The love you give, you know you're bound to receive. The good can only grow the more you believe. Come on now, I know the truth about you. I feel the power within you. I know that love surrounds you. Everything is all right. I know the truth about you. I see the light within you. Just let it shine on brightly. Everything is all right. It's all right. You know what? It's all right. Say that again. It's all right. Your biggest self can't be denied. You've got no place to hide because I know the truth about you. I feel the power within you. I know that love surrounds you. Everything is all right. I know the truth about you. I see the light within you. Just let it shine on brightly. Everything is all right. Yes, indeed, it is. So yes, good morning, and welcome to our time of spiritual celebration. This is, Tucson New Thought is a spiritual community that is rooted in one thing and one thing only. We are here to know only one thing. What is that? Love. Yeah, love. Sometimes I think I was born at the wrong time because I think I should have been part of the love generation. But then I also think, well, I should have been a crooner in the 40s. Yes. Right? Like there's so many things that like I could have done that just didn't quite fit into the techno pop 80s when I was a teenager. So yes, we do join together as a spiritual community every single week to understand and grow through and live and express as love. That is what we are here to do. And I'm so grateful that you've decided to spend your Sunday morning with us in this celebration. For those of you who don't know me, because I don't always do this, I just assume. For those of you who don't know me, I am Reverend Jonathan Zenz. I am the founding spiritual director of Tucson New Thought. And our vision, we envision here a world that works for everyone. That is what we are here to create. And we engage that vision through our mission, which is to provide practical tools for personal transformation and awaken humanity to its spiritual magnificence. Yeah. I love that word, magnificence. I don't know if you could tell that I enjoy the word magnificent. It's a very like the feeling that I have around that word is so powerful. And here's what I know. If you are here for the first time, I'm not going to make you stand up, but I would love for those of us who have been coming here for a while to maybe catch the eye of someone who's new here today and let us know what we know about them. And that is, you are magnificent. You are magnificent. And I know that you're magnificent. We know you're magnificent because you are a reflection of us. We are each reflections of each other, which is perfect because today the talk is called The Power of the Mirror. The power of the mirror. And so everything we experience is a reflection of that which is within each and every one of us. So I would love for all of us to exclaim, I am magnificent. I am magnificent. Yes, indeed, we are magnificent. Connection is why we are here. Not just here at Tucson New Thought, but here in this thing called life. So what I would love for us to do is to take a few moments to stand up, greet our friends and neighbors. Don't go too far, because it's a small space. And let them know their magnificence, but use your own unique voice and expression in that. And I do want to say hello to everyone who is watching online and let you know that we see you, we feel your presence here and your energy here as part of this community. And I am so grateful that you have decided to be with us on this beautiful, beautiful Sunday morning. You are magnificent. Thanks for being here. You are magnificent. William? I'm just allowing myself to feel the wash of loving energy that's in this room right now. Every week, we do this ceremony, this ritual called lighting the flames of faith. This is one of my favorite things that I do every single week because it's an important aspect of my practice to really live in the understanding that all religious paths, all faith traditions, all spiritual ideologies are all rooted in that one thing called love. And so I know that all are founded on a common golden thread of love. So that's what we are here to acknowledge with each candle that we light, that everything is connected as spirit. So we light a candle for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light a candle for the shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. We light a candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light a candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. Easy for me to say. We light a candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. We light a candle for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. We light a candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the divine will of love as the highest calling. We light a candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light a candle for all forms of New Thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. We light a candle for all those who are as yet unaware of the power and presence of spirit in their lives, and for the space that we are holding for them, and for all faith traditions unnamed in this ceremony. This final candle is a candle to represent the healing of any circumstance that requires divinity to be revealed. And so we light this candle with that in mind, a recognition that the true nature of healing is the revelation of divinity, revealing the divine in everything. So this is your candle for whatever is in your mind and in your heart that requires the light. Thank you, William. I invite you to turn your attention to the candle on your left, which is the peace candle. We keep the peace candle illuminated at all times with this understanding that as it is illuminated consistently, it is a reflection of the consistent illumination of peace within our hearts. And so we honor that. As we are illuminated in and by peace, that peace expands from us to the entire world. That's what I live in. That's the understanding that I live in. That's what I meant to say. But let's honor this candle with these modified words of James Dillett Freeman in the prayer for protection. Let's read this together. Truly, the light of peace surrounds us, the love of peace enfolds us, the power of peace protects us, and the presence of peace watches over us. Wherever we are, peace is. That is so. So I invite you to relax right where you are as we step into this understanding that our thoughts are prayers.
Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers, take charge of what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a sense of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer. Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers, take charge of what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a sense of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer.
I chose to utilize that as our centering song this month because we are in the month of Back to Basics, and that's pretty basic to the teaching, to know that our thoughts are prayers. Everything we say is a prayer and in some form expresses in our lives. Now, if you want to talk about, so every thought I have expresses, we neutralize thoughts as quickly as we create them as well. So it may not necessarily show up in your world of form, but we can talk about that in class, which starts January 22nd. See how I worked in that little pitch there? Yeah. Where would you like this, sir?
That's good.
Okay. Our offering today with a reading and reflection is by the Vice President of our Leadership Council, someone who I've come to know as a very dear friend, and I'm so grateful for his presence in my life and the spiritual nourishment that he brings me, because I'll tell you, this man keeps me on my toes, and I'm the minister. I'm always learning spiritual lessons from him, and I know that he has something wonderful to share today with his reading, reflection, and leading us in the affirmation. Please welcome William Summers.
I'm not going to toss the paper today because I have 2 quotes and then a little list. And I'm really intelligent, but I'm never going to remember all that. So the quote I have today is from that noted author. His name is Pinterest. And and with our theme of back to the basics, the quote I took out of there was, going back to the basics strengthens your foundation. And with that, life is good, stuff happens, what do I do? And I know this is true for everybody, and as Jonathan will talk about a little later, the reason I know this is true because we're all mirroring each other. Each circumstance may be just a little different, but it's the same stuff comes up for all of us. And so the second quote I want to do is, we ask ourselves, going back to the basics, what does that mean? And the quote I had for that is, start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. And I'd like to use a personal example for that. I cleared this with my wife, Anita. People have come up to me and say, boy, you guys have this outstanding relationship. And we do. We have an outstanding relationship. But I'll guarantee you the first few years, it was mighty rocky. I see a few doubters there. Will the doubters see Anita after the service? She'll remove that doubt. But the thing was, we were where we were when we started the relationship. So the next thing was, okay, so what do we need to do to move the relationship forward? What can we do? And so it was like going to workshops, taking classes. Once in a while, when I'd get a little off the beaten path, Anita would take a book off the shelf and let me know that it'd probably be a good idea if I would read this book. And I did. So, those were the tools we have. Those were the basic things that we could do to improve our relationship. Going into another vein, Reverend Jonathan and I went and looked at several spaces a couple days ago for our new spiritual home. And I shared this with Reverend Jonathan, that the couple places that we looked at that looked like they would work out really well for our community, there was fear in my heart, real fear about, this is bigger than what we were looking at down here, and are we going to be able to afford this? I mean, things were going through me. I took and I decided I choose not to live in that fear. I choose to remember who I am, and one of the very basic things that we teach in this philosophy is, go ahead and make a choice. If you don't like that choice, make a different choice. It's that hard and that simple. And I didn't want to live in fear anymore, so I shared with Reverend Jonathan, I'm going to choose to live in anticipation, the excitement of packing things up, moving it to our new space, so that we can grow. The energy that all of you will be bringing over to that, that's a way nicer spot for me to live in than living in fear. How do I get back to the basics to strengthen my foundation? This is my little list that I made up. Well, one of them is Sunday services, which, obviously we're all here. There's a Wednesday meditation, Wednesday evening. Monday through Friday, Jonathan has his mindful moment. And I swear he didn't put me up to this. There's also classes. And the thing is, the first ones, I always get something out of coming here Sundays. I get something out of listening to Jonathan when I'm able to at lunchtime, the different things. But if I really choose to make a big step forward, the classes have made the big difference for me. I get the little grains here on Sunday. I move ahead a little bit. But if I want to take this giant step, the classes work for me. And it's practice. It's fine to have all this stuff up here. I know people that, they could make me look like a child when it comes to New Thought, and their lives are not working very well for them. They've got it up here, but they don't do the practice. They don't get it down in here. And as Reverend Jonathan has said many times, it's work until it's not. So kind of trying to pull all these things that I've been rambling about together here. For me, one of the basic truths is, you are God. There's no doubt in my mind about that. You're creating your life. You get to choose how you want your life to be. And the final truth that I'm going to share with you this morning is that you're creating something absolutely magnificent here called Tucson New Thought. Namaste. Okay, I'd like you to join me in reading our affirmation for this month. I am a magnificent blank page of infinite possibility. Thank you.
It's work.
Oh, yeah.
It's work, work, work.
What was that quote you said this morning about just one thought, something? Remember what that was? No. Something about
I've said a lot this morning already.
it's action.
Oh, it's
Thought doesn't create.
absent consistency. It was something like absent consistency, one thought will not create.
Right.
We need to be focused and specific and consistent in our spiritual practice, and that's how we actually create our lives. So, yeah. I also love something that you brought up, and you didn't even realize you did it, because one of my favorite things to do is to eliminate the word I can't, or the phrase I can't, from my vocabulary, because I could very easily in any situation go to, well, I can't do that. I have replaced that with, what can I do? Ask the question, what can I do? I don't need to focus on what I can't do. What can I do? And so we're actually in that right now as we search for our new home. What is possible? We are a magnificent blank page of infinite possibility, right? What can we do? Well, we can. Last week we imagined, this week we can get together.
Oh, yeah.
Sing along. You probably know the words. Love is but a song we sing, and fear's the way we die. You can make the mountains ring, or make the angels cry. Though the bird is on the wing, you need not know why. This is the part you'll know. Come on, people now, smile at your brother, everybody get together, try to love one another right now. Some may come and some may go, we will surely pass. When the one that left us here returns for us at last, we are but a moment's sunlight fading in the grass. Come on, people now, smile at your brother, everybody get together, try to love one another right now. Come on, people now, smile on your brother, everybody get together, try to love one another right now. If you hear the song we sing, you will understand. Listen. You hold the key to love and fear in your trembling hand. Just one key unlocks them both. It's there at your command. Come on, people now, smile on your brother, everybody get together, try to love one another right now. Come on, people now, smile on your brother, everybody get together, try to love one another right now. Come on, people now, smile on your brother, everybody get together, try to love one another right now. Right now, Yeah. I was literally born at the wrong time in life. No, I was not. I was born at the exact right time for this experience of life. And, you know, I might have been a crooner in the 40s. You never know. I mean, life is infinite. Life is constantly unfolding. And, you know, I am a crooner in the 20s. Yeah. Oh. So, last week, I gave some homework. Oh, yeah, you gave homework. Does anyone remember what the homework was? Yeah, yeah. No, it was not say something in the mirror. It was feelings, yeah. So I offered this. Every single morning when you wake up, ask yourself 2 questions. The first question is this: what am I feeling? What am I feeling? The second question is this what I want to feel today? And then there's the work. You can either go with what you're feeling or you get to redirect it. That was the homework last week, to determine how you were going to redirect your feelings if you didn't wake up. You know, because has anyone ever woken up on the wrong side of the bed? Yeah? You're in charge of that. So the question is, how did it go? Clearly, with everyone remembering what the homework was, it went really well. Because I even wrote, did you remember? The first 2 days, right? The first 2 days are always easy. And there it is. There's the thing I was talking about. Consistency in practice. We must make a concerted effort to be consistent in the practice, and that's when life gets better. So if you are looking for a better life, you decide. Because you can come here every single Sunday, and maybe that's not enough. Maybe it is enough. Maybe that's the level of consistency you need. Maybe so. But I have found in my life, and this is the reason that I do that mindful moment every single weekday, because it's about my spiritual practice. It has nothing to do with you. It's about me saying, what do I need to focus on today? And I just choose to do it publicly. So that consistency, it also holds me accountable to the world, to say, I am going to be accountable to you in expressing and experiencing my spiritual practice, and I invite you on the journey with me, because maybe you'll get something from it. But I'm only ever talking about what I need to know in that moment, and that includes Sundays. I only ever talk about what I need to know, what I need to learn. That's the I would say, that's the trick of ministry. This week is all about the mind. This month is all about the mind. This philosophy is all about the mind. Every week we are talking about one thing and one thing only: universal mind, our use of it, and that is unfolding as the law of cause and effect. I know that sounds like 3 things, but it's really one thing. It is the process of creation. It is the process of creation by means of each and every one of us. So I'm going to start with this quote from Ernest Holmes. Life is a mirror and will reflect back to the thinker what they think into it. Life is a mirror and will reflect back to the thinker what they think of it. There is power in the mirror. There is power in I love that image. When I found that image, I was like, ooh, it's so exciting. In the realm of basics, and this is back to it's so funny. The back to basics is over here in the first gathering, and it's over there in the second gathering. Back to basics is the theme of the month. The mirror, being a reflection of the mind, must have something to reflect. It must have something to reflect. So everything that shows up in the world of form, that is the reflection to what is happening in our mind. Fundamental to this philosophy is that notion. Everything that shows up in the world of form first starts in mind. Everything is created twice, first in mind and then in form. First in mind and then in form. The thing that is reflected, and I'm going to use a jargon term here. I'm going to use a term that you will learn in class. It's just going to keep coming up, right? I'm going to use a term that some people go, what does that mean? Because I did that for many years, because people would throw this term around, and I would say, oh yeah, I really understand that. No, I don't. Doesn't that happen sometimes when you hear like, there's a language that is spoken in groups that are consistent, and the language can sometimes feel foreign to those who are not in that group? So I'm going to teach you part of our language here. That thing that is reflected begins with an idea in mind. That idea in mind we call the mental equivalent. The mental equivalent. Now you'll hear it everywhere you go if you go to a religious science church. People are going to be talking about mental equivalent all the time. And you'll probably become more aware of hearing it now that I've explained it to you. So the mental equivalent is the idea in mind. What flows forth from the mental equivalent is the construct of our lives. That's getting back to basics. Don't get lost in the jargon. The mental equivalent is just an idea. That's it. I mean, we could very easily say, that thing out there, it started with an idea in mind. But we like to, we like to jargon it up. Oh, that thing out there, it started with my mental equivalent. And I'm going to utilize my mental equivalent to create the magnificence of my life. Doesn't that sound hoity-toity? That idea, those ideas, everything in mind, just consistently flows forth into experience. Our basic work in this philosophy, there's basic work in this philosophy. Our basic work in this philosophy is not to try and manipulate and change things out there. I haven't taken a ballet class in 20 years, but somehow our basic work is to develop awareness. That's the basic work of the science of mind. To develop awareness. All new thought philosophies are essentially teaching the same thing. They have different modes to get there. They have different ways of getting there. But the basic work is to develop awareness. It is only in awareness that we can do something about the flow and expression of our lives. Only in awareness can we do that. We know what we know. At least most of us know what we know. I mean, you can look to things and say, oh, I know that, right? So we know what we know. Sometimes we know what we don't know. For instance, this book, The Science of Mind. When I first came to this philosophy, I didn't know what I didn't know that was written in this book. But I knew that there was something written in this book, and that the only way to know it was to deepen my sense of study into it. So we can identify often the things we don't know. We know what we don't know. The challenge comes in this notion: we always don't know what we don't know. We always don't know what we don't know. I talked about this in the 9 o'clock gathering this morning. You ready? 100% of our thoughts create. 100% of our thoughts create. And we are aware of about 10%. So 90% of our thoughts below the level of awareness are still creating. That's why I say our work in this philosophy is to deepen into awareness, to bring to the surface those things which are below the level of awareness. Ernest Holmes wrote, "So much of our ordinary thinking lapses into habitual patterns with little variation from one day to the next. Our lives mirror this. We live then as limited. We are limited by the habitual thinking, and 90% of our thinking below the level of awareness, that's just the habit and thought. Those are the patterns that we have created to live a construct of life. And what I really love about this philosophy, and it actually goes with what I said earlier, is to really deepen into that understanding that I can have a thought, and I can have an idea, I can have a belief, but until I am consistent in the expression and the embodiment of that, It will not change my life. And so I go to that question, what can I do? What can I do to activate and embody the ideas and the principles and the beliefs that I would like to activate and embody so that my life moves forward in an evolutionary manner, which is all that I am personally ever seeking. I choose to live life constructively. And there are many people who choose to live life destructively. I'm not going to talk about them today because I know all the people in this room are only ever living constructively, right? Yes. Yes. In that song, there is a lyric that has always resonated with me. I bet you know what it is. I think I know. I saw you give a look to each other when that lyric was sung, and I think you gave a look to each other when that lyric was sung too. It's my favorite lyric in the whole song. It is this: you hold the key to love and fear in your trembling hand. Just one key unlocks them both. It's there at your command. What are you choosing to unlock today? Love or fear? Because one key will unlock both. But you get to make the decision. Each and every one of us gets to make the decision about what it is we would like to unlock in our lives. That one key is deepened awareness, a sense of the infinite self, the knowledge that there is so much more, and all of it is available to be expressed by means of each and every one of us. For we are not, as I said it before, we are not, as Rumi says, the drop in the ocean. We are the entire ocean in a drop. The infinite nature of the universe is being expressed and reflected as us at every single moment, no matter what. But to activate it, we must remember who we are. Don't believe everything you think. Good idea, right? Don't believe everything you think. I have fallen into that trap in my life. There's a core belief that I used to hold. Actually, let me explain what core beliefs are first. So, 100% is creating, 90% is below the surface. The habitual thoughts are the things that are most easily activated by our mental equivalent. Why? Because we believe those things without questioning them. Those habitual things are things we believe without questioning them. I call them core beliefs. They're already established premise. It's an already established premise in our lives, those beliefs, and we are deep in them. And again, bringing to the level of awareness those established premises that we are not aware of, that's the work. So core belief I used to have was actually rooted in a collective idea among actors. For those of you who don't know, and I love to talk about it, right? I was an actor for a couple decades before I came into ministry, and when I was studying ministry, I continued to work in the theater. But there may be a core belief and an idea that is existing in this room right here and right now that is what we call this race consciousness, and I don't really like using that term because it gets misunderstood so much. I like to say it's a collective idea. A collective idea shared by a group of people. That's what I'm talking about here. So there is a collective idea that is shared really strongly among actors, but a lot of people who are not even in that field have this idea too, and so it maintains itself in our belief system until we choose to do something about it. And it is thus the idea of the starving artist. I went through 4 years to get a degree in theater production. And when I left with my degree, I am a theater production Bachelor of Fine Arts. It was very exciting. It was very exciting. And I immediately, a couple weeks later, flew to New York City. And the one thing that I said is, I will not work as a waiter. I'll do many other things, but I will not work in food service because that is such a cliche. You know, oh, I'm an actor. Great. What restaurant do you work at? Not what show are you doing right now? What restaurant do you work at? But I found myself still falling into that concept that was so prevalent in my community and in the world of being a starving artist. And it is insidious because until I was made aware that it was my thoughts and my beliefs that were running the show, I lived within what was already established. See how that works? See how that works? And so I was living in New York. I lived at 45th and 10th. It was still called Hell's Kitchen at that point. It is now called Clinton. And it's very Disney-fied. But I lived at 45th and 10th, and I lived in this little tiny apartment. It was called a 2-bedroom apartment. And I lived there. I had a roommate. He had the other bedroom. His bedroom was literally this, it was a converted closet. That's what it was. I at least had the bedroom that had a window. He had no windows in his bedroom, but he liked it dark. Anyway, so I lived in this tiny little apartment. I'm like, oh, something I can afford. There's a core belief. What is the level of affordability that I was experiencing living in New York? So I lived at 45th and 10th. Do I dare say this? Yes. And I got to know the prostitute who worked that corner. And there was a taxi stand downstairs. And so all night long, there were taxis coming and having their wheels replaced and all this stuff. And it was just noisy. But I had this idea, I have to suffer for my art. I'm going to live as a starving artist. How do you think that worked out for me?
What restaurant did you end up working?
At least you wouldn't starve.
You know what? So that was actually partway into what I consider the multi-decades of my acting career, because I did a lot of shows while I was in university. Actually, my first professional gig was when I was in high school. But I will tell you, I did not work in food service ever again until I moved back to Tucson last year. And then I had a brief stint working over at Dedicated for several months. Yeah. No, actually what ended up happening is I did work in a restaurant, but I did not work as a server. It was a restaurant that had a cabaret club associated with it, and I was actually hired to be the technical director for that cabaret club. So, I found things, but I wasn't necessarily always doing what it was I was trained to do, because I still lived in that concept, starving artist. When I left New York, I was there for 3 years. When I left New York, 20 years ago this year, when I left New York and I went to LA, that's when it all changed. Because I actually got on board with this understanding. I can live a comfortable life. I can do what I want to do in this world, and I don't have to make it look like anything I think it should look like, and I don't have to do it the way anybody else did it. And so, at that point, you know what happened? I started acting all the time. I got cast in, well, I'll never talk about the movie that I did. It's terrible. Don't look it up. Seriously, don't look it up. Well, if you do, I apologize. I really do profusely apologize for that being in the world. But my love was always theater. So here I am in LA, where everybody thinks, oh, you're going to be in television and film, right? No, I started doing theater very early on after I had transitioned into living in that world, and I lived very comfortably, and I worked all the time. There was pretty much never a point where I was not performing in a show for the 12 years that I lived in LA. And then I became a minister. And I'm still performing every single week. So here's why I bring all of that up. It was all reflecting to me, as me, through me perfectly through that entire experience. All I had to do to change the experience of my life was change my mind. Because everything that shows up is the mirror to what's happening in my mind. All of it. 100% of it. The limitations that we feel in this room, I will tell you, are led by my limitations in mind, because I was the one who decided we needed to have a smaller space to start. Because we actually had access to a larger space, and I said, no. We're going to start small. And maybe on paper and with business principles that are rooted in past ideas, that was a good idea. It served us at the time, but you know what? We are ready for so much more. I am ready for so much more. Are you ready?
Yes.
Good. I can't tell you when it's happening, but I guarantee you the leadership of this organization, we are working really hard to make it happen in as quickly a time frame as we can. So I lived in that core consciousness. I lived in that core belief. So here's my question to you. You don't have to come up with them right in this moment, but I would love for you to start to look at what are some core beliefs you have in your life that may or may not be serving you. And then make some determinations this week about how you choose to move forward. The wake-up call to me was the understanding that my thoughts were limiting my experience of life, and all I had to do was let go of those limiting ideas. The path is the path for every single one of us. The path is the path. So hold that mirror up. I look good. The hair is on point today. I do know that I want to lose this. And the terrible thing is this is a wide angle lens. Whenever I go watch the video, it always the camera puts on 10 pounds. I'm like, is that what I really look like? I get to decide how I choose to be in this world. If this wants to go, I get to make that happen. All right, so our work is to make the nature of God, this creative, infinite energy, applicable to life. That's the science of mind and spirit. In the random reading this morning, it was all talking about the scientific approach to this thing called the science of mind. And I started by saying, it's not really a science, but I approach it with this understanding that my life is the experiment. And I get to live in this infinite laboratory and consistently change the experience and the experiment to live a better life. We are never trying to change circumstances. That's another thing to get on board with. We are never trying to change the circumstances. Our work is to change our relationship to the circumstances in mind, and you know what happens invariably? The circumstances recreate themselves in alignment with what is in our mind. But so many of us come to this philosophy and, you'll come to class and be like, oh, I want to create a new car. The mental equivalent of a new car is not in the circumstance, it is in mind. It all starts in mind. It all begins by laying down our burdening thoughts. Christy asked me about this glass of water today. Oh, now there are fingerprints on it. I didn't really want fingerprints on it, but you can't probably see them as easily as I can. So, what question might I ask about this glass of water? That's usually the question that people say, oh yes, that's the question he's probably going to ask, because it's like, are you an optimist or a pessimist? It's not the question I'm going to ask. This is the question I'm going to ask. How heavy is this glass of water? Any thoughts on how heavy this glass of water is?
Don't know because we're not holding it.
Well, can you guess? That's the answer. As long as I hold this out. I can hold this. What? I can hold this up for a minute. Not really an issue. The longer I hold it, say I try to hold it for an hour. Right here. Not put it down. That glass is going to feel a lot heavier in an hour. Imagine I try to hold this up for a year. Consistent beliefs that are not in service to your well-being are like this glass if you hold on to them. And they will weigh you down until you become paralyzed by them. So the call, really, this entire month in saying getting back to basics is this: do the work. Do the work. So I've given you one tool today. Change the statement, I can't, and ask the question, what can I do? Or how can I? Whatever serves you, whatever phrase serves you. But I also want to have us each start looking at this. If you have the statement, so I am is an affirmation, right?
we start the affirmation for the month. I can't remember it now. Isn't that terrible? I'm like, it's up there. I can't remember it, which is why I give you all the little business cards. So you can carry them around, and you can be reminded of them, and you can take business cards and hand them out to people and say, I want you to know what I know about you. Of infinite possibility. It's not in the program, it's on the business cards. I am a magnificent blank page of infinite possibility. Feels good to live in affirmation, right? So many of us live in denial. We utilize negative statements. I am poor, I am weak, I am broke, I'm unhappy. Your life is unfolding based on the statements that you affirm. If you are saying, I'm upset, that is going to create the experience of being upset. So the work this week, it's actually an Eckhart Tolle exercise. Eliminate I am followed by a negative statement and utilize a question. So instead of saying I am upset, stop yourself the minute you realize you're saying it and ask yourself this question. Why do I feel upset? And then go on the spiritual journey to uncover that belief below the level of awareness that is expressing itself as upset in your life, that is expressing itself as the feeling of upset in your life, and then choose to do something about it. I can't tell you what that something is because it's going to be a unique expression by means of each and every one of you, whatever those things are that come up for you. You get to decide how you want to approach it, but the start is to say, I'm going to do the work. I'm going to do the work. Instead of, I am a procrastinator. I used to be, because there was a point where I had to ask the question, why do I feel the need to procrastinate? Why do I feel the need to put things off? When I discovered the answer that was personal to myself, you know what happened? I was no longer in the experience of being a procrastinator. So that's the homework this week. Change I am, negative statement, and ask yourself the question, why? Ask yourself the question, why? That is a fundamental way to get back to basics in this philosophy. That is saying, I am willing to hold up the mirror and recognize something more deeply about myself, and it is willing to say, I am doing the work, and therefore I will live the results. Namaste. If you would. And so let's root ourselves in remembering who we are. Oh, it's so funny. I'm so used to doing this. I do it on my own in the first, and this is Anita who's going to lead us in this. Of course, Anita Summers. I invite you to relax right where you are, taking in a nice deep breath. Whew. And allow whatever has washed over you today, that whatever it is, that moment, if it's a kernel of truth that resonated for you today, let it be present for you right here and right now.
God is, I am, right here, right now, right here, right now. God is, I am, God is, I am, right here, right now, right here, right now. God is,
I settle into this understanding. I settle into the notion. I settle into the truth of my being, that there is only one power, there is only one presence, there is only one infinite creative source. There is only God, there is only love, there is only light. There is only this creative power, there is nothing else. There is source and nothing else. And this is who and what each and every one of us is. We are the source expressed perfectly, easefully, and effortlessly, because that is how the source knows to express easefully, effortlessly, gracefully. And so I identify in the here and now as this thing, the thing itself, God. And I know this to be so for each and every one of us, that we are the thing itself. We are the entire ocean in a drop. And I know that the word I speak now is backed by this creative power, as this creative power, and it is constantly unfolding in terms of creation. And so I speak my word on behalf of each and every one of us, knowing that we are willing to do the work that is required to hold that mirror up perfectly right here and right now, free of any negative charge, and know that as we recognize and see what comes up before us, we can do something about it. For I live in the affirmation, I live in the forward momentum, and I live in the evolution of this thing called spirit right now and at all times. It is ceaseless, and it is ceaselessly unfolding by means of me and by means of each and every one of us. And so I simply let it be as I relax, release, let go, and allow in this infinite creative flow. I live in gratitude and let that feeling of gratitude well up by means of me and overflow into creation. I know it, I live it, and I say yes, 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 it is so. I release, let go, and allow as together we say, and so it is.
God is, I am, right here, right now, right here, right now. God is, I am.
Thank you. Ah. You know what? When we get a bigger stage, it's off the hook. Because I'm too much for this room, and I hold back in this room. I don't know if you've ever known that. Ah. I would love for William to join me up here. And you know what's next, right? I didn't talk to you about this before. So William is awesome. Do you know that?
Yes.
And William is going to talk to you about this center a little bit. It's like, what am I doing?
I know that. Okay, you know the drill: cash, check, money order. One thing I did notice when I was up here this time, there's so much love when I'm up here talking. Oh, we got to get this out of the way. And I'm trying to figure out, where's this all coming from? There's a lot of stuff from online, I realize, coming this way too. And I just want you to know how grateful I am. And there's a button for you to push up there too. I don't have anything clever to say, but I do have that's true. But I do have somebody had a question, and I thought, well, I'd answer that. As far as the question was, well, if I put cash in, how do I know, if it's the right color, the right size? So you'll notice Jonathan's shirt is green. So if you're doing cash and it's green, that's his favorite color. And as far as the size, at this center, one size fits all. Okay. Yeah, but we have so much fun. If you join me in affirming this law of circulation here by reading our giving statement. Divine love consecrates my gift. It goes forth to heal, prosper, and bless. It is evidence of my conviction that spirit is the source and substance of my supply. I joyously contribute to the vision of my spiritual center, knowing that it returns to me multiplied abundantly.
This is really green to you?
Well, it's close enough. It fit the question.
I thought it was gray. Maybe I'm. Yeah. Anyway, we're going to sing our new offering song that we're starting to include an offering song. So as the basket goes around, here we go.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. so grateful, grateful, grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I'm so grateful, 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 grateful. I am so blessed.
If it's not fun, what's the point? Darwin, if you would, please. Let's just take this moment of reflection to know that what has been collected here, just stand there for a moment, to know that what has been collected here is love in action. It is God in action. It is the perfect expression and outflow of the love in our hearts expressed by means of money. And I know that this money moves through this time and this place, this thing called Tucson New Thought, with the highest integrity of use by the Leadership Council, and I am so blessed in this. I'm so grateful that each and every person here is contributing to the vision and mission of this work. I am so blessed, and I am so grateful. I live this, I trust this, I know this, and it is with deep gratitude that I simply let this be, as together we say, and so it is. Thank you very much. And as he moves his way into the back, here we go.
Good morning, everyone. Here are your Tucson New Thought announcements for January 12, 2020. Join us this Wednesday for our monthly Taizé experience. A Taizé-style gathering mixes music, poetry, and quiet meditation to allow us to deepen into our sense of self and our sense of connection to the whole. Join us Wednesday at 6 o'clock p.m. Coming up on January 17th at 6:30 p.m. is another spiritual cinema night. We will be screening the movie What is New Thought and hosting a discussion following. It is certain to spark your imagination and deepen your understanding of the philosophy. Mark your calendars for our next class. Spiritual Foundations, also known as New Thought 101, begins Wednesday, January 22nd at 7 o'clock p.m. This 8-week course will answer all of your questions about New Thought and Science of Mind. Starting with the thing itself, you'll learn how to use it. Sign up now at the information table. Our annual community meeting is coming up following our 10:30 a.m. gathering on January 26th. Join us to learn about the business of spirit, expressed as Tucson New Thought. Elect members to open Leadership Council terms, see where we have come from and where we are headed as a spiritual community. If you think you might be interested in running for an open Leadership Council position, please speak with Reverend Jonathan or one of the current members of the Leadership Council. To be able to vote on issues at the annual community meeting, you will need to be a registered member of Tucson New Thought. If Tucson New Thought is the right spiritual home for you at this point of your experience, we invite you to consider membership. Simply fill out a membership form and give it to Reverend Jonathan or one of the members of the Leadership Council. As we prepare to deliver your giving statements for 2019, we would like to ensure that we have your correct information on file. If you made an identifiable contribution in 2019, but didn't provide more than your name, please let us know and provide us with your address and email so we can properly deliver your statement. For more information, check out our website at TucsonNewThought.org and connect with us on Facebook and Instagram at Tucson New Thought. Thank you for being here and sharing your magnificence with us.
Thank you, Darwin. Yeah. One thing I wanted to say regarding the giving statement. So oftentimes people like write their name on an envelope, and if we already have all of your information on file, specifically your address and your email address, then having your name on it, as long as it matches what's in our records, is fine. If you've only ever just written your name and we don't have your address or email address, then we don't know where to send your giving statement to. Now, we're not just putting out a book with everybody's information in it. So if you are unsure, just let me know and we will go look it up. And we'll make that easy. Mirta has something that she would like to offer as well today. And
quickly.
yes.
Hopefully it won't take more than a couple of minutes. This has to do with Casa Alitas, which is one of the branches of Catholic Community Services where the people who ask for asylum are received. And they are in great need of, especially now, winter items. Most of the people that come are very small, so I asked if you have anything, if any of you are my size, perfect. Or
Not my size.
or if you have teenage granddaughters and grandsons, that's the size, small. And we need everything from shoes to sweaters, gloves, especially now that it's wintertime. And our guests, we call them our guests, are going to different parts of the United States, like north, east, where it's really, really cold. Also, now, even though you have some information inside of your brochure today, I brought some new ones because there is more information for you. You can donate, bring clothes here,
Yes.
still, is that okay? And then I'll pick it up and take them myself. Or you can go to the address, I don't have it here, but it's 140 East Speedway, right, very close to I-10. That's where Catholic Community Services is. We also need food donations. You can buy gift cards at Costco. And on the table, there are some other places. You buy the gift cards and you take them to Catholic Community Services on Speedway and say, this is for Casa Alitas. And then we can buy food, which, of course, is very necessary.
Straight financial donations.
You can do that too. So just look up at the, I have the email of the person you should contact, and you can make donations that way. And you can work there if you like as a volunteer. Again, the information is an email. You can, there's so many things you can do, from cooking to, if you speak Spanish, helping the Spanish-speaking people make travel arrangements to get to where they're going. There's everything under the sun to do. So thank you very much. If you have anything, please remember us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mirta. Being back in Tucson, it is such, I mean, it is, I wish there were not the need for it, but it is such a joy to be able to support Casa Alitas and the work that they're doing there, because it is very important that we honor everyone in this world and support them through their times of change as well. So I want to say thank you to Aiden for providing our technical support today. Yes. I think you were on the list. Did you bring? Yeah, so Deborah brought snacks today, but Britt, did you bring something as well? Oh, you were just helping set up. Okay. Thank you to Deborah for bringing snacks today. Thank you for Britt helping set those up. Thank you, Jaya, for being our greeter today. This guy, William, thank you so much for your service today and providing your inspiration. Yes, yes, yes. I want to say thank you to Anita and to Christy both for providing and supporting us through music. Yeah, that's great, but you know what? You ain't seen nothing yet.
If you think there's nothing new under the sun, if it's possible, it's already been done. If you think the stage has all been set, think again. You ain't seen nothing yet. The sun'll come up with a wave of your hand. You're smack dab in the middle of the promised land. It all turned out just the way that you planned. Believe it, you will see it. If you think you finally made your bed, there ain't nothing down that road ahead. If you think this is as good as it gets, wanna bet? You ain't seen nothing yet. The sun'll come up with the wave of your hand. You're smack dab in the middle of the promised land. It all turned out just the way that you planned. Believe it, you will see it. Believe it, you will see it. And you ain't seen nothing. You ain't seen nothing. You ain't seen nothing yet. You ain't seen nothing. You ain't seen nothing. You ain't seen nothing yet. You ain't seen nothing. You ain't seen nothing. You ain't seen nothing yet. You ain't seen nothing. You ain't seen nothing. You ain't seen nothing yet. Make it a great week, everyone.